Hello and welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball 26 and the 2027-2028 off season. We've just reached free agency filings after having a very successful year where we went 162, but unfortunately we didn't quite make it to the World Series. Hopefully next year. If we're looking at our team, OSA thinks we're the best team in baseball, I believe, or very close to it. Maybe Atlanta was a better team last year slightly. But we're pretty amazing. Honestly, our pitching is great. Our position players are all quite solid. If we go over to fan interest is still at 100. Our loyalty is unfortunately below average. That does take forever to build up. The average market size is probably hampering our budget a bit, but we're still holding it together. We're going to drop our ticket price down to 40 because I think it was a little high. Our attendance dropped despite winning 100 games. So we're going to go ahead and knock that down a little bit. Team chemistry is surprisingly still great. They are content despite every player on this team having a bad personality. Although that's not 100% true, let me pull up Henry Davis. So when we signed him, he did have 2 negative personality traits, and now he only has 1. And so that's pretty cool. His personality is improved. We do have a couple of leaders on the team, Shane Smith and of course, Tarek Skubal, our most expensive player on a $33 million contract. So with the leadership, without anybody who's unmotivated, the disruptive and selfish influences are kind of balanced out by that. And if you're new to the series, or just as a reminder, the rules for the challenge are basically the player has to have at least 2 negative personality traits. And no matter how many negative personality traits they have to have more negative than positive ones. So someone like Brenton Doyle, who's very loyal, but he's not a leader. He's not very adaptable. He's fine. He can come on the team. And then if a player like Henry Davis does develop a good personality, it's fine. It's just they have to have a bad personality when we sign them. So basically when we put them on the 40-man roster. And a challenge like this really limits your option for available players. If we go into this year's free agents, we find that Felix Bautista is the only 3-star guy available. There are some 2.5-star guys, but I've got them all shortlisted if they have a bad personality. But then you get guys like this who just, they just don't fit on a major league team, to be honest. They're either old or their ratings have declined. Bautista might be an interesting guy to sign again. He's been pitching okay with the Dodgers for the last 2 years, and he's only 32, and his ratings are still amazing, so he might have a couple good years left in him. But overall, it is quite lean. We're not going to sign a guy like Andrew Benintendi, despite his ratings being okay. He's 33. He's going to be expensive, so we're not interested. A guy like Griffin Conine, often you have to have on your team. He's declined a bit if we go into the scouting. He had a bit more promising future back in the day, 60 power, 60 eye, and all that. But that never really happened for him. Unfortunately, he didn't develop. And since there's not a whole lot of good players in free agency, I'm just going to check out all of the highly rated players with bad personalities in the game and see who we might be able to get a hold of. Corbin Carroll's basically impossible, although they will give up Carroll for Jackson Holiday. I did try to work that trade to see if there was anybody else on my team that they liked enough to put together a big package, and no, it just wasn't going to happen. Roman Anthony, young, amazing outfielder, he is absolutely untouchable. Bryce Harper's getting a little old. I still wouldn't mind having him for like a year, but he's signed for the next 3-4 years, actually, and we're not interested in that deal. Carson Williams is a great shortstop I'd love to get a hold of, maybe have him play third base for us, or actually have Mason Wynn play third base and have Williams play short. But the Rays are just absolutely not giving him up. Let's see. So if I did something crazy like my best pitching prospect, number 1 draft pick, see if there's anybody I could add to that trade, and there isn't. So we're not even in the ballpark of picking up Carson Williams, unfortunately. But we have a lot of these players. I mean, we have Mason Wynn, Tristan Casas, Kyle Tucker, Henry Davis, Jackson Holiday. So we do have a lot of these guys. I did note William Contreras had become a bad personality over the season, and he's all right. I wouldn't mind having him, but Milwaukee actually likes this contract, which is kind of crazy. So they're happy to pay him $33 million, and they're not going to hold any of it. One interesting dude who I traded away. What did I get in that trade, by the way? Where is it? No, I won't go through that. But anyway, yeah, we did trade him away a little over a year ago because for us, he just wasn't producing at all. I mean, he hit 215 in his full season. Then he came back and hit 139. For Cleveland, though, he's been playing fairly well and finally living up to kind of what Spencer Torkelson's supposed to be in this game, I think. His contract is not bad. It's that $10 million a year. He's 28, so he's got a few years left in him. If we shop for, or if we inquire about his services, though, they want like a young, awesome starter or one of the best shortstops in the league or, just an absolutely key player on my team. And so, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get a hold of Torkelson just yet, although I would like to have that bat because I am one power bat short of where I want to be. If I could find another great defensive third baseman or shortstop, then we could move Manny Machado over to first base, and that might work out well for us. As it stands now, we have Cody Clemens over at first base, and he's okay. He's played fairly well for us. He's about breaking even on WAR for us. And, he's an acceptable bat. Last year he had 23 home runs, league average OPS plus. So, Clemens is not the guy you'd love to have. You'd like to have somebody a little more solid like this. And we might just look into signing this gentleman. What does he want? He's 28 years old, and he's looking for a 5-year deal. And at $12 million, that is not the worst thing. If we look at how he's been hitting them, he's been slumping a bit. Honestly, this is not how he should be playing. But yeah, going through the batters, you see there's just not a ton of options. You get down into the 2.5-star guys, and you're looking at like a Josh Naylor, who I'm not interested in him at a $17 million price. So not a whole lot of players to move for. If we go to the pitchers, maybe slightly more interesting because you get Kodai Senga is getting a little old now. He's 34. But we could sign Felix Bautista. Ranger Suarez is too expensive. You could pick up... I've been trying to pick up Jonah Tong, and the Mets are absolutely not interested in letting him go, unfortunately. But there's possibilities like maybe picking up Jose Soriano, who's kind of middling. He's not the greatest, but maybe with our coaching staff, maybe he performs even better. Managed to get a hold of Ricky Tiedemann, though. This was kind of a coup. I mean, at 25 years old, and we didn't have to give up all that much for him. So I think we're going to be okay on the pitching. If I go into our staff now that everybody's left, Webb, Skubal, Brown, Rodriguez, and Ricky Tiedemann in the starting rotation. And then just a bunch of really solid relievers. A couple young ones, too. So I think our pitching's looking in great shape. The only... Oh, you know what? Jackson Holiday is our second baseman, sir. We need a backup outfielder, and we've got one coming up from AAA. And we're going to switch Tristan Casas and Cody Clemens around. And this is the one position I want to upgrade, really. If we can upgrade this first base position somehow this year, that would be awesome. Okay, I actually went and looked it up. Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I've been calling him Isaac Paredes, and it's more like Isaac Paredes. Whoops. But I'm going to go ahead and offer him. We're going to do a 4-year deal, and I would like a team option on this last year. So let's go ahead and figure something out. If we offer him, let's see. Let me look at what my salaries are coming up. Yeah, our salaries are going to begin to decline after Logan Webb is almost certainly leaving us, and so will Tristan Casas next year. That's going to hurt. and another reason to get a good bat in the lineup, to be honest. Okay, so maybe because we have a little bit of money, I'm going to mildly try to front load this. And I am going to offer him probably more than his asking price. If we go team option, let's make that buyout. Let's make that buyout like $3 million. Effectively adding $750,000 to the cost of each of these years, because it's very unlikely that. Here, actually, let's add $1 million to the cost of these. Effectively, it's very unlikely we'll keep him for the team option. By age 32, he's probably going to be washed up, to be honest. So we can leave this at $15 million. I will happily pay if he's producing at a superstar level. I'll be happy to pay for a $15 million first baseman. So let's go ahead and drop these down. Save a little money on the end. So he's asking for 5 years, $60 million, and I'm willing to offer him essentially like 4 years, $50 million, which is, it's a little more, but then there's also the team option. So like, yeah, I think this is a pretty good offer, and we will see what he thinks of that. He's willing to at least consider it. And so that may be my only major free agent signing. I might pick up a reliever or two. Looking ahead a little bit to plan for Rule 5, I don't have anybody who's 2.5 stars overall, and those are the guys that usually get picked up in the Rule 5. It is always a little bit of a gamble, though. I'm sitting at 36 players. I'd like to leave a little bit of room on my roster, and I'd also like to save a little money. But then a guy like Griffin Burkholder, he's definitely going to be playing in AAA. He's almost certainly going to be a call-up at some point next year. And gosh, I may as well add him to the 40-man. Austin Charles will be back and available. I need to make sure I have good scouting on him, because if he does develop just a little bit between now and the Rule 5, then I think the teams are going to be all over him. So let's get a scouting report on Austin Charles. Again, I would just like to not have to put these guys on the 40-man unless I have to. A guy like Rhys Hines could get picked up. So we'll have to look at the Rule 5 draft pool as we get closer to the end of December. The first interesting trade of the offseason for other teams, this one's maybe debatably okay. The Blue Jays giving up incredible center fielder Dalton Varsho, who is on a really super team-friendly contract at $14.8 million. And they're giving him up for, admittedly, some decent pitching prospects. And I don't like the deal. I think they should hold Varsho. Like, I don't really see... I mean, you can get minor league pitching in this game. But, yeah, at least it's not like a total travesty. They're not giving him up for like a 2-star guy. It looks like I've spoken too soon. Just 2 days later, the Philadelphia Phillies have done something very, very bizarre. They've sent over a premier reliever in this game. If you play this game, you know Doval is often one of the very top relievers. He can close. He's just great. And him and $4.84 million for this friggin' guy. It's now December 1st, and we have a little bit better idea of what the international amateur free agents are looking like. These are my 10 shortlisted players, the ones I'm inviting to training. They're the only ones with bad personalities. So let's take a look. So first pitcher, Danny Escobar, Jerry. He's all right. Pretty good velocity, potential, good stamina, good hold runners. He has high work ethic. He has high baseball IQ. So this will be a pretty solid pickup. Kind of guy who's going to most likely end up as a reliever, but you never know. Manny Limo, Sasquatch they call him. This is a beast. He's only a medium development risk. His outfielding is acceptable. He can play first base. And that is a really, really, really strong bat. So we may be picking up Mr. Sasquatch. Other options, Luis Espinoza. GG, I like that nickname. Yeah, pretty solid guy. Alberto Medina. Not the kind of player I like to pick up. Dave Martinez. So this is what's going to make it tough. He wants like 3.2 million, I think. So I'm going to have to just throw my whole budget at him if I go for Dave Martinez. He has been downgraded a little bit by my scout through both of his workouts in October and November. Or rather, November and December. So, great defensive catcher and a pretty decent, like, real major league bat here in his potential. Again, medium development risk. So, what a tough call. Do you go for like the flashy, probably not going to develop guy? Or do you go for, somebody who is not a player who's really replaceable at all? It's a real tough call on that. Jorge Munoz, potential 5-star right fielder. I think he's a left fielder or first baseman. He's looking all right. If I'm going to... Oh, you know what? He only has one negative trait. Let me remove him from my short list. Oh, he's not even on it. Okay, good. I think he's someone I just added in there because there were actually only 9 guys with bad personalities, and I hoped as I learned more about him, I'd find out he was more of a jerk than he lets on, but he's not. So Miloslav Sinek. This is more the type of pitcher I'm looking to sign. Guy with 4 pitches at least. Really good stamina, but yeah, just kind of lacking that oomph that we need. There's something missing there. Center field prospect Tony Ramirez. This is fine. This can be an extremely strong hitting profile, but I don't like the extreme development risk, and so I'd probably never pick up Tony Ramirez. Alex Flores is just frankly too light on power for an outfielder. And Danny Hernandez, pretty good. I think there's a couple better options, but I wouldn't be totally unhappy having him in my organization. Well, it looks like the Miami Marlins woke up this morning and chose violence. Their catcher now is Agustin Ramirez. Perfectly decent backup, and only a backup. They've shipped JT, OOTP legend himself. Even at 36 years old, he is still a very well above average catcher. And now he's a New York Yankee, as so often happens. It wasn't even an expensive contract either. It was $14.9 million for the next 2 years, which is an absolute steal for him. It's now December 5th and time for the Hall of Fame voting. I'm only voting for 9 guys, probably. Ryan Braun, he probably deserves it. There's a lot of these guys coming up now who don't quite have the counting stats. And so I understand that a lot of them probably won't make it. Of course, a guy like Mark Burley's never going to make it, but, I love him. He's just great. Cano, on his first ballot, he should be, maybe not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he should make it in. And then, of course, King Felix, voting for him again. Yachty's a good example of somebody with kind of sort of mediocre-looking counting stats, but that does not encapsulate what he meant to the game of baseball. And especially for me, as somebody who is a longtime Cardinals fan, this is going to be a great year on the Hall of Fame ballot for me to watch. It's going to be Yachty and also Albert Pujols. So we're also voting for A-Rod because he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what anybody says. He's just too good a baseball player not to be in there. And he's not quite as evil as somebody like Pete Rose. So I think A-Rod is where you draw the line. I think we need to let in Clemens too. But Buster Posey, he should be getting in real soon. I'm wondering in the future if guys like David Price will make it. He won't make it, but guys like this. Not very good looking counting stats, but pretty good rate stats. And he was a Cy Young winner, a 5-time All-Star. Very, very good pitcher. So I wonder as pitchers pitch fewer and fewer innings if that becomes a thing. And that is it. Let's see. K-Rod I threw in there, of course, King Felix. And we'll submit that. December 12th, and the scouting report is back on Hiromoto Nomura. So close. He is a non-leader, but because he gives an honest effort every day, I think it's very likely that he develops a high work ethic or some other positive trait. And yeah, he's probably never going to be a player eligible for my team. And even so, I mean, sour grapes, I guess, but I can't afford a $20 to $25 million reliever. But it's nice to dream. December 13th, and it's the start of the winter meetings. Isaac Paredes is happy with my offer, so that's good. Trevor Stefan also seems happy with the minor league with major league option offer, which is neat. I will lose out on the opportunity to sign Felix Bautista. He was an early signing for New York, and at $3.8 million, that is insane. How is New York only paying $3.8 million to Felix Bautista? That makes no sense. What we're going to do since the winter meetings have started is we're going to dig into that Corey Lee trade that I've been wanting to make, get him starting on some other major league team, bring up Easton Carmichael, and hopefully get some kind of value out of Corey Lee. A pretty interesting possibility with the Mets. We might be able to pick up Jonah Tong, who's one of the few acquirable pitchers who meet my team's criteria with that bad personality. He's got great pitches. He's young. Good for the future of the team. We can get back, and to get him, we would have to take back Zach Gallen. And we're already holding 45% of the contract, and they want us to hold just a little more, 25% more of it, in fact, which would be 5.2. So about another $4 million per year. So basically Jonah Tong would be costing us about $4 million per year. And we'd be trading straight up Corey Lee. Roman Angelo, who I like having around because he's a good call-up. But yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot for us. And he's okay. Jonah Tong would certainly be much better. But here's the catch. They want two legit pitching prospects. And this is a low control guy. He's very unlikely to ever be a starter, Tommy Lepore. I mean, he was a round 7 pick. The problem is he's got a bad personality, and he's going to be coming up to AAA. It's just, is that a guy you want to get rid of? And then Michael Forett, who recently learned a forkball. His numbers are not good. He's not pitching well, at least the last 2 seasons in the minors. But, that very borderline movement and control. 23 years old, he can still develop. He does have just enough stamina that'll probably hold on to be a starter. He's got a really, really good slider on the way, and already a fully developed changeup. So it would be possibly a big mistake. But when I compare this 23-year-old to this 24-year-old, there's not a comparison here. But the problem is, if I'm going to go ahead and consider Roman Angelo not really giving up much value. And Corey Lee, he doesn't really add anything to the team. I know he hit like a beast, but this is not typical. That was very lucky. So I think we cash that in. And do we give up this guy too? It's such a hard call, honestly. These trades are like very, very, very marginal, and the AI is offering... they're being very stingy, to put it mildly. Like, if I want to throw in another, like a Saul Garcia, who's really not, to my mind, a major league reliever, maybe not for another couple of years at most. If I try to throw him in, then all of a sudden, they want another player of significant quality. And so, yeah, it's pretty hard out there in the trading world right now. So I'm going to have a think about this one. But it is interesting. Okay, I've got a slightly better deal, possibly. Instead of giving up Tommy Lepore, I would still be giving up Michael Forett. But instead of Tommy Lepore, I'd be giving up a non-qualifying personality catcher who's quite good, actually. I don't want to give him up, but he can't ever play for my team. So, and then a starter who's 25 years old, not really going anywhere, Evan Yates. He's still sticking around like high A, and I don't even really want to promote him with with this performance and the ratings. He should be in Double A, obviously, but yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. He's extreme fly ball, low velo, 25 years old. He's not a power pitcher. He doesn't have anything really going for him. So this is better. I would much rather keep around that other prospect than and get rid of these two guys. So we're gonna, and to do this, we actually had to take on a little more of Zach Gallen than we had hoped, 10% more. So Zach Gallen, the ghost of Zach Gallen, is haunting us, and it's going to drop our money by about 2.5 to 3 million for the next 2 seasons. But maybe they'll keep a little more. Hey, they'll keep another like 30,000 on Jonathan. Let's do it. Some good news now that I've got too much pitching. Tanner Scott, who is still quite good, at least his ratings suggest he is. The Red Scout seems to really believe in him, and so they're willing to throw us a ton of prospects. 2 to 2.5 star guys like Ryan Prager, very typical of the quality of players being offered. There we go. That's a very quality offering. And this happens a lot when guys have terrible personalities. The AI will just want to get rid of them. This is the weakest throw-in in the trade, Julian Aguiar. And David, not going to pronounce that name. Another, a guy who could be something. He's a ground baller, so that's good. And then actually kind of a promising left field prospect, bad personality, great outfield ratings, and if the bat develops, he's 24, so he's still got a shot at developing at least a few of these stats. That's great. So we're very happily going to get rid of Tanner Scott, and they're throwing in $1.75 million. So best deal of the offseason, probably. And finally, to wrap up the episode, let's take a look at the Rule 5 draft. It is now December 24th, and this Rule 5 draft is freaking loaded. You've got Dax Fulton in there, who often later in his career develops well in this game. I don't know why. Let me go ahead and filter this, though. You've all seen loaded Rule 5 drafts before. You know they can get kind of crazy. And I'm only looking for 2.5 star overall guys or better. I'm sure there's plenty of pretty good players down here in the 2-star overall, but they can't come immediately onto the roster. So, whoops, didn't mean to click him. Cutter Coffee. Interesting. So 60 infield range, good arm. This man can step up and play third base. Not that it means anything, but he's been hitting very well in AAA. And, 23, he's, getting ready to peak here pretty soon probably. And is this like a Trey Sweeney type replacement? Possibly. Some other names on here. I'm almost certainly going to try to pick up Blake Mitchell. He didn't hit at all in AA or AAA, but his catcher ratings are very good. He's got a dynamite arm, acceptable blocking and framing, and if he would just strike out a little bit less, he could be an almost serviceable hitter. So I am definitely looking to pick up Blake Mitchell. And the other names here are just not quite good enough to stick on the team immediately. Pitchers like Pat Gallagher doesn't quite have it going on. Marco Raya is always an interesting guy in this game. He started out, I think, a few years back as like a 5-star prospect at some point. Let's see what our scout had him at. Yeah, in this game, in my save, he's never been over a 3-star guy, but pretty good pitcher when he develops. Unfortunately, he doesn't develop often. Ben Hess. Yeah, this is another guy. I mean, if I didn't have too much pitching, I would definitely throw him right on my roster. Casey Hunt, Okay, and that's the end of the 2.5 star guys. What does Ryan Nicholson look like? No power. A guy I'd love to have in AAA, though. Okay, so we're going to start this draft and hopefully be able to pick up that catcher. Shortlist is default. We're going to auto draft till we pick. I want to see who got taken. Yeah, Dax Fulton, Bryce Miller went. Okay. Jack Leiter, how's he looking in this save? He's okay. All right. Let's go down to the catchers. So many players. Okay, Blake Mitchell, come aboard. And that does mean that Easton Carmichael's not going to start in the majors, but that is okay. He could certainly use a little more seasoning. And now let's look at those pitchers again. And is there anybody? Not really. And if we're looking at the batters, Cutter Coffee. I'm going to pick him up. He's got the 3 negative and 2 positive traits, so he is okay for us to pick up. Yeah, we're just, it doesn't hurt to draft him. I can always just let him go. What is he on? Yeah, he's not owed any kind of money. So there you have it. That's the Rule 5 draft. I will also check the draft log for who went in round 2 and 3. Okay, so yeah, pretty stacked Rule 5. At least one of these players is going to make a really big impact for their team. And with all those moves done, we're sitting on 14 pitchers. We're going to have to cut one. And we are sitting on 14 batters, and we're going to need to cut one of them. So that's a good problem to have, having slightly too many good players. We might not keep Cutter Coffee around, but we're definitely keeping around Blake Mitchell, the catcher. So I hope you will join me for the next episode. We will get into the preseason. Hopefully our owner will raise our budget so we can have a full player development and scouting budget for this next year, and maybe a little more in the draft. And we do still have $8 million sitting around, and we do have that offer out to Isaac Paredes. And hopefully that comes through. If it doesn't, we are not sunk, but it would definitely improve the team having his bat around. So we'll do the preseason, we'll do spring training, and then we will get the season started. And season 4, it's got to be the Magic season. We got to win it this year. So thanks for watching. So long and take care.